Hey everyone, Shawn the SEO Geek here, and what I wanted to talk about today was why you're not selling enough stuff online, or why you're not selling enough stuff online at the right price point, or any other combination of problems like that that we can think of in between there. So I wanted to start with a quick story of where this really came from. Um, when I was getting started with my business, starting to consult for folks, this was probably back in, 2009 or so. 22, 23 years old, somewhere in there. And I wanted to build websites for small businesses. That's all I wanted to do at that point in time. I'm going out, I'm networking, I'm doing all this, I'm meeting people, I'm doing what I think are all of the right things. And then I meet with somebody who would go on to be a little bit of a mentor, a little bit of a coach, somewhere in between all of that. And he asks me, he's like, Shawn, what is the reason that I, or anybody else for that matter, should consider buying a website from you as opposed to any of the other number of web designers that are out there? And I went on to say, like, well, I don't have expensive office space. I'm right here in my apartment. It's just me. I don't have a team. I do all the design, coding, and everything myself. And he stops me in my tracks. He says, Shawn, what you just listed are all the reasons why I shouldn't pay you a dime more than anybody else that is offering websites. I kind of like sat back in my seat a little bit. It was kind of the realization was like, yeah, I'm setting myself up. And what I'm talking to people about, I'm setting myself up for, hey, why are you costing anyone more? You're supposedly, the cost to do a website is cheaper for you than anybody else. Why would I even bother paying you more? So that's where we get to what we wanted to talk about today, is that a lot of businesses are shooting themselves in the foot and not making the money that they deserve to be making, because they're putting the message out there that, hey, we're the cheapest out there. Okay. So when my mindset shifted from, hey, I'm definitely not the cheapest out there. I'm probably not the most expensive either, but I'm probably not the cheapest. Or I'm probably not the most expensive, but I'm definitely not the cheapest. When I started, kind of going into the market like that and sharing that, hey, it's not about, how expensive or inexpensive my service is. It's more about the value that I'm bringing to you, the client, the customer. So, you see a lot of businesses that are, like the local landscaping company around here, they have it real big on their trucks in big maroon letters, like affordable lawn care. There's other companies that talk about, how cheap, how low cost, how inexpensive they are. But then they, kind of are stuck in a situation where it's like, well, I can't charge a dollar more. And, frankly, it's irresponsible to operate that way in a lot of cases, because your margins are going to be cut so slim that now when you want to add more value to your customer, you don't have the wiggle room to do it. So now you can't say, hey, let's experiment with something else. Let me bring you something else, because where are you going to get that from? Unless you charge them more. But then, then it's just the value of the transaction and the dollars that exist in that transaction, as opposed to, hey, here's something valuable that I can bring right to you, that could be a nice surprise, that could be something that's valuable to you. And it's really just, a gesture of goodwill that you can afford to bring to somebody, as opposed to, oh man, I really don't have the extra wiggle room. I know this is valuable to you, but unless you pay me more, then I can't really bring it to you at all. So just food for thought. Now, the one caveat that I will say to this, of course, because there is the big Amazonian elephant in the room, where Amazon's mission is to, you know, why should anybody pay more to an independent retailer as opposed to Amazon, who, you know, is just going to have the least expensive option, and that's what you're going to go with. The reality is that if you are selling something that is relevant to a specific market, and this is where we're going to get into the really meaty stuff here, but if you're selling something that is very relevant and means something to a specific market, this is where, instead of just going with your messaging around being the cheapest, again, that's what it all comes down to, is what is your audience expecting of you, and how much of what you don't want are you projecting out to your audience? You know, instead of projecting out like, hey, we got the cheapest option, we got the cheapest option, we got the cheapest option, instead, craft your message around understanding what it is that the person on the other end of the screen wants. You know, so if somebody, you know, is looking to go out to the club and they're looking for a new dress because, you know, they believe that when they have this specific dress, they're going to have a better time at the club. You know, get into that mindset. You know, that person, you know, if they got one thing on their mind and what it is that they want, it may not necessarily be to save money in the process. What they want is that experience. Amazon cannot necessarily deliver and speak to what that experience is. If you have an independent website, you can speak to what that experience is. So just keep in mind that as you're putting together your messaging, that people buy emotionally first, and then they back it up with logic. You can get away with selling something not the cheapest when you remember that, hey, I'm going to trigger what this person actually wants, and trigger in a good way. I don't mean that in a muddy, nasty, ugly way. I mean, when you really speak subconsciously to somebody and you say, and you give them that feeling of, hey, I got you. You know, you want to wear this dress, you want to meet somebody awesome, you want to, you know, do whatever you're going to do. You just create that environment of, hey, that's totally cool, and make that person feel like, hey, I got you. Let's do this. So I hope you found that helpful. And I hope I know it was kind of a little bit all over the place, but it really just boils down to your message of, hey, we may not be the cheapest, but we're definitely going to get you what you want, no matter what that is. And that really boils down to, even further, how much of your messaging is doing the damage to your business that you don't want to happen. So I think that is a stellar point to leave. I look forward to seeing you again soon, and I hope you found this valuable. If you did, please feel free to share it with a friend. Feel free to comment wherever you're seeing this at, whether it is on YouTube, on the Shawn the SEO Geek.com website, whatever it is. I hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Take care.